Nuclear weapons represent one of the most significant advancements in military technology, fundamentally altering the landscape of international relations, warfare, and global security. The development and proliferation of these weapons have sparked intense debates about ethics, strategy, and the future of humanity. This essay will explore the history of nuclear weapons, their technical aspects, the geopolitical implications of their existence, the ethical considerations surrounding their use, and the ongoing efforts toward disarmament and non-proliferation. History of nuclear weapons. The origins of nuclear weapons can be traced back to the early 20th century with the discovery of radioactivity and the structure of the atom. Key figures such as Marie Curie, Ernest Rutherford, and Niels Bohr laid the groundwork for understanding atomic structure and nuclear reactions. Curie's pioneering work on radioactivity, which earned her 2 Nobel Prizes, revealed the existence of radioactive elements and their properties. Rutherford's gold foil experiment led to the discovery of the atomic nucleus, fundamentally changing the understanding of atomic structure. Bohr's model of the atom introduced the concept of quantized energy levels, which was crucial for later developments in nuclear physics. However, it was the onset of World War II that accelerated the race to develop nuclear weapons, culminating in the Manhattan Project, a secret U.S. government research project that produced the first atomic bombs. The Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project, initiated in 1942, was a monumental effort involving some of the greatest scientific minds of the time, including J. Robert Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, and Richard Feynman. The project was a response to fears that Nazi Germany was developing its own nuclear weapons. The U.S. government allocated vast resources and funding to this top-secret initiative, which spanned multiple sites across the country, including Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, and Hanford. The project aimed to harness nuclear fission, the process of splitting atomic nuclei to release energy into a weapon of unprecedented power. Through a combination of theoretical research and practical experimentation, the team successfully developed 2 types of atomic bombs, a uranium-based bomb known as Little Boy and a plutonium-based bomb called Fat Man. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In 1945, the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, resulting in unprecedented destruction and loss of life. On August 6, 1945, Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima, instantly killing an estimated 70,000 to 80,000 people, with tens of thousands more succumbing to injuries and radiation sickness in the following weeks. Just 3 days later, on August 9, Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki, leading to the deaths of approximately 40,000 people immediately, with many more affected by the long-term consequences of radiation exposure. These bombings not only hastened the end of World War II but also marked the beginning of the nuclear age, introducing a new era characterized by the potential for mass destruction. The immediate aftermath of the bombings raised ethical questions about the use of such weapons, as well as concerns regarding the long-term effects of radiation exposure on survivors. Ethical and humanitarian concerns. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki sparked intense debates about the morality of using atomic weapons. Critics argued that the bombings were unnecessary, as Japan was already on the verge of surrender. Others contended that the bombings were justified as a means to save lives by avoiding a protracted ground invasion of Japan. The devastating human toll and the suffering endured by survivors, known as hibakusha, led to a growing movement advocating for nuclear disarmament and the establishment of international treaties to prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons. The psychological and physical scars left on the survivors highlighted the urgent need for humanitarian considerations in discussions about nuclear warfare. The Cold War and nuclear proliferation. The end of World War II did not mark the end of nuclear development, rather, it ushered in the Cold War, a period characterized by geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. Both nations engaged in an arms race, stockpiling nuclear weapons and developing more advanced delivery systems, including intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, MAD, emerged, positing that the full-scale use of nuclear weapons by one superpower would result in the total annihilation of both the attacker and the defender. This precarious balance of power led to numerous close calls and crises, including the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, which brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. Modern nuclear weapons and global concerns. As of the 21st century, the landscape of nuclear weapons has evolved significantly. While the number of nuclear warheads has decreased due to various arms control agreements, such as the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, START, concerns about nuclear proliferation remain. Nations like North Korea and Iran have pursued nuclear capabilities, raising alarms about regional and global security. The potential for nuclear terrorism, where non-state actors could acquire nuclear materials, poses an additional threat. The international community continues to grapple with the challenges of nuclear disarmament, non-proliferation, and the ethical implications of maintaining nuclear arsenals in an increasingly interconnected world. Technical aspects of nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons operate on the principles of nuclear fission and fusion. Fission weapons, or atomic bombs, release energy by splitting heavy atomic nuclei, such as uranium-235 or plutonium-239. In contrast, fusion weapons, or hydrogen bombs, achieve a far greater explosive yield by fusing light nuclei, such as isotopes of hydrogen, under extreme temperatures and pressures. The development of thermonuclear weapons represented a significant leap in destructive capability, with yields measured in megatons of TNT. Nuclear fission, the mechanism of atomic bombs. The process of nuclear fission involves the absorption of a neutron by a heavy nucleus, which becomes unstable and splits into two smaller nuclei, along with the release of additional neutrons and a significant amount of energy. This chain reaction can be initiated in a controlled manner in nuclear reactors or unleashed in an uncontrolled manner in nuclear weapons. The critical mass of fissile material is a crucial factor. It is the minimum amount of material needed to maintain a self-sustaining chain reaction. For uranium-235, this critical mass is approximately 52 kilograms, while for plutonium-239, it is around 10 kilograms. The design of fission bombs typically employs either a gun-type assembly or an implosion method to achieve this critical mass rapidly. Nuclear fusion, the power of hydrogen bombs. Fusion weapons, or thermonuclear bombs, utilize the process of fusing light atomic nuclei, primarily isotopes of hydrogen, such as deuterium and tritium. This process requires extremely high temperatures, on the order of millions of degrees Celsius, to overcome the electrostatic repulsion between positively charged nuclei. The initial fission explosion in a thermonuclear weapon serves as a trigger to create the necessary conditions for fusion to occur. The energy released from fusion is significantly greater than that from fission, making thermonuclear weapons far more powerful. The yields of these weapons can reach hundreds of kilotons to several megatons of TNT equivalent, making them some of the most devastating devices ever created. Design and engineering of nuclear weapons. The design of nuclear weapons involves complex engineering and scientific principles. Key components include the fissile material, a neutron initiator, conventional explosives to compress the fissile core, and a casing to contain the explosion. The neutron initiator is a critical component that provides the initial neutrons necessary to start the fission chain reaction. Common materials used for this purpose include polonium, beryllium, and lithium deuteride. The conventional explosives are arranged in a precise manner to ensure that the fissile material is compressed uniformly, maximizing the efficiency of the explosion. Yield-to-weight ratio, measuring efficiency. The efficiency of a nuclear weapon is often measured by its yield-to-weight ratio, which reflects the amount of energy released relative to the weapon's size and weight. This ratio is a critical factor in the design of modern nuclear warheads, as military strategists seek to maximize destructive power while minimizing the size and weight of the weapon for easier delivery. Advances in technology have led to the development of more compact and sophisticated nuclear warheads, capable of being delivered by various means, including intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs, and strategic bombers. The miniaturization of nuclear warheads has allowed for a greater variety of delivery systems, enhancing the flexibility and deterrent capabilities of nuclear arsenals worldwide. Delivery systems, the means of deployment. The delivery of nuclear weapons is a critical aspect of their strategic utility. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, are designed to deliver nuclear warheads over long distances, typically exceeding 5,500 kilometers. These missiles are launched from silos or mobile platforms and can reach their targets within minutes. Submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs, provide a second strike capability, as they can be launched from submerged submarines, making them difficult to detect and target. Strategic bombers, such as the B-52 and B-2, can carry nuclear bombs and cruise missiles, allowing for flexible deployment options. The combination of these delivery systems creates a robust nuclear deterrent, ensuring that adversaries are aware of the potential consequences of nuclear conflict. Conclusion: the ongoing evolution of nuclear weapons. In conclusion, the technical aspects of nuclear weapons encompass a wide range of scientific and engineering principles, from the fundamental processes of fission and fusion to the intricate designs of warheads and delivery systems. As technology continues to evolve, so too does the nature of nuclear weapons, raising important questions about global security, arms control, and the ethical implications of possessing such devastating capabilities. The ongoing development and modernization of nuclear arsenals around the world highlight the need for continued dialogue and cooperation among nations to prevent the proliferation of these weapons and to work towards a safer, more secure future. Geopolitical implications. The existence of nuclear weapons has profound implications for global politics and security. The concept of deterrence, particularly during the Cold War, posited that the possession of nuclear weapons would prevent adversaries from engaging in direct conflict due to the fear of mutually assured destruction, MAD. This doctrine shaped military strategies and international relations, leading to an arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War era was characterized by a delicate balance of power, where both superpowers invested heavily in their nuclear arsenals, leading to the development of increasingly sophisticated delivery systems, including intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs. The fear of a nuclear confrontation loomed large, influencing diplomatic negotiations and military posturing. The Cold War and deterrence theory. During the Cold War, the principle of MAD became a cornerstone of US and Soviet military strategy. The idea was that if both sides possessed enough nuclear weapons to destroy each other, neither would initiate a conflict, as the consequences would be catastrophic. This led to the establishment of various arms control agreements, such as the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, SALT, and the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, INF, aimed at curbing the nuclear arms race and reducing the risk of accidental war. However, the underlying tension and competition between the two superpowers often resulted in proxy wars and military interventions in third countries, as both sought to expand their influence without triggering a direct nuclear confrontation. Nuclear proliferation and regional stability. In addition to the superpowers, several other nations have developed nuclear capabilities, including the United Kingdom, France, China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea. The proliferation of nuclear weapons has raised concerns about regional stability and the potential for nuclear conflict. Each of these nations has its own motivations for pursuing nuclear capabilities, ranging from national security concerns to regional power dynamics. For instance, India's nuclear program was largely driven by its rivalry with Pakistan, while North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons is often viewed as a means of regime survival and a tool for international bargaining. The existence of rogue states with nuclear ambitions poses a unique challenge to global security, as these nations may not adhere to established norms of restraint. The international community has grappled with how to address the nuclear aspirations of countries like North Korea and Iran, which have pursued nuclear programs despite widespread condemnation and sanctions. The failure to prevent these nations from acquiring nuclear capabilities has led to a re-evaluation of non-proliferation strategies and has sparked debates about the effectiveness of diplomatic engagement versus military intervention. The role of international treaties and organizations. International treaties and organizations play a crucial role in managing the geopolitical implications of nuclear weapons. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, established in 1968, aims to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote peaceful uses of nuclear energy. It has been instrumental in creating a framework for disarmament and non-proliferation, although its effectiveness has been challenged by the emergence of new nuclear states and the failure of nuclear-armed states to fulfill their disarmament commitments. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, also plays a vital role in monitoring nuclear programs and ensuring compliance with non-proliferation agreements. The future of nuclear weapons in global politics. As we move further into the 21st century, the geopolitical landscape surrounding nuclear weapons continues to evolve. The rise of new powers, shifting alliances, and emerging technologies, such as cyber warfare and missile defense systems, complicate the traditional notions of deterrence and security. The potential for nuclear terrorism, where non-state actors acquire nuclear materials, adds another layer of complexity to global security concerns. Moreover, the increasing militarization of space and advancements in hypersonic weapons could further destabilize the existing balance of power. In conclusion, the implications of nuclear weapons on global politics are multifaceted and deeply intertwined with issues of power, security, and international relations. The ongoing challenges of nuclear proliferation, regional conflicts, and the quest for disarmament will continue to shape the geopolitical landscape for years to come. As nations navigate this complex terrain, the need for effective diplomacy, robust international frameworks, and a commitment to reducing the nuclear threat remains paramount. Ethical considerations. The ethical implications of nuclear weapons are complex and multifaceted, encompassing a wide range of moral, philosophical, and humanitarian concerns. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have been the subject of extensive moral debate, with opinions sharply divided on the justification of such actions. Proponents argue that the use of atomic bombs was necessary to bring a swift end to World War II, thereby saving lives that would have been lost in a protracted conflict. They assert that the bombings forced Japan's surrender, ultimately preventing a land invasion that could have resulted in far greater casualties on both sides. This perspective often invokes the principle of utilitarianism, which seeks to maximize overall happiness and minimize suffering, suggesting that the immediate devastation was a lesser evil compared to the potential loss of life in a drawn-out war. Historical context and justifications. To fully understand the ethical considerations surrounding the use of nuclear weapons, it is essential to examine the historical context in which these decisions were made. In the final stages of World War II, Japan had shown little inclination to surrender, and Allied forces were preparing for a massive invasion of the Japanese mainland, which was projected to result in hundreds of thousands of military and civilian casualties. The bombings of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, and Nagasaki on August 9, 1945, were seen by some military leaders and policymakers as a means to expedite the end of the war. They believed that the shock and awe of nuclear devastation would compel Japan to capitulate, thus avoiding a prolonged conflict that could have drawn in more nations and resulted in even greater loss of life. Criticism and moral opposition. Critics of the bombings, however, contend that the use of atomic bombs constituted a war crime, as they targeted civilian populations and caused immense suffering. The immediate death toll was staggering, with estimates of over 100,000 people killed in Hiroshima and around 70,000 in Nagasaki, many of whom were non-combatants. Furthermore, the long-term effects of radiation exposure led to severe health issues, including cancer and genetic mutations, affecting survivors and their descendants. This raises profound ethical questions about the morality of inflicting such suffering on civilian populations, particularly when alternative means of warfare could have been employed. The ethical principle of proportionality, which asserts that the harm caused by military action must be proportional to the military advantage gained, is often cited in this context. Critics argue that the bombings failed this test, as the indiscriminate nature of nuclear weapons results in widespread and uncontrollable destruction. Humanitarian consequences and global ethics. Furthermore, the potential for catastrophic humanitarian consequences in the event of a nuclear war raises significant ethical questions that extend beyond historical events. The concept of just war theory, which seeks to establish criteria for the moral justification of warfare, is fundamentally challenged by the indiscriminate nature of nuclear weapons. Unlike conventional weapons, which can be aimed with a degree of precision, nuclear weapons have the capacity to obliterate entire cities and cause indiscriminate harm to civilians, making it nearly impossible to adhere to the principles of discrimination and proportionality that are central to just war theory. The long-term effects of radiation exposure on survivors and the environment further complicate the ethical landscape surrounding nuclear weapons. Survivors of the bombings, known as hibakusha, have faced lifelong health challenges, social stigma, and psychological trauma. Additionally, the environmental impact of nuclear detonations can lead to long-lasting ecological damage, affecting not only the immediate area but also contributing to global issues such as climate change and biodiversity loss. The ethical implications of such consequences extend to future generations, raising questions about intergenerational justice and the responsibilities of current leaders to prevent nuclear proliferation and potential conflict. Conclusion: the need for ethical frameworks. In conclusion, the ethical considerations surrounding nuclear weapons are deeply intertwined with historical events, humanitarian consequences, and philosophical debates. As the world grapples with the ongoing threat of nuclear proliferation and the potential for catastrophic conflict, it is imperative to establish robust ethical frameworks that prioritize human rights, environmental sustainability, and the prevention of mass suffering. The lessons learned from Hiroshima and Nagasaki must inform contemporary discussions on nuclear policy, ensuring that the moral implications of such weapons are never forgotten and that efforts are made to promote peace and security in a world still haunted by the specter of nuclear warfare. Disarmament and non-proliferation efforts. In response to the dangers posed by nuclear weapons, various international treaties and agreements have been established to promote disarmament and prevent proliferation. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, opened for signature in 1968, aims to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote peaceful uses of nuclear energy. The treaty has been signed by 191 countries, making it one of the most widely adhered to arms control agreements in history. The NPT is built on three main pillars: non-proliferation, disarmament, and the peaceful use of nuclear energy. Each of these pillars plays a crucial role in maintaining global security and fostering international cooperation. The pillars of the NPT. The first pillar, non-proliferation, seeks to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and nuclear weapon technology. This is achieved by obligating non-nuclear weapon states not to acquire nuclear weapons and encouraging nuclear-armed states to pursue disarmament. The second pillar, disarmament, obligates nuclear-armed states to engage in good faith negotiations towards nuclear disarmament, which has been a contentious issue as many states continue to modernize their arsenals. The third pillar promotes the peaceful use of nuclear energy, allowing states to develop nuclear technology for energy production and other peaceful purposes, while ensuring that such developments do not contribute to weapons proliferation. Challenges to disarmament. Despite the NPT's success, challenges remain in achieving disarmament. Nuclear-armed states have been criticized for modernizing their arsenals rather than pursuing disarmament. For instance, Countries like the United States, Russia, China, and India have invested heavily in upgrading their nuclear capabilities, raising concerns about a new arms race. This modernization includes the development of new delivery systems, such as hypersonic missiles, and the enhancement of existing warheads, which undermines the spirit of disarmament efforts. Critics argue that these actions not only violate the NPT's disarmament obligations but also contribute to global insecurity and instability. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT, which seeks to ban all nuclear explosions, has yet to enter into force due to the refusal of key states to ratify it. Although the treaty was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1996 and has been signed by 185 countries, it requires ratification by 44 specific states that participated in the negotiations for it to become legally binding. Notably, countries such as the United States, China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea have not ratified the treaty, which hampers its effectiveness and raises concerns about the potential for nuclear testing to resume. The CTBT's verification regime, which includes a global network of monitoring stations, is designed to detect nuclear explosions and ensure compliance, but its full potential remains unrealized without universal ratification. Emerging technologies and new threats. Additionally, the rise of new technologies, such as cyber warfare and artificial intelligence, poses new challenges to nuclear security and stability. Cyber threats can potentially compromise the safety and security of nuclear arsenals, as well as the command and control systems that govern their use. The increasing reliance on digital systems in military operations raises concerns about vulnerabilities that could be exploited by malicious actors. Furthermore, advancements in artificial intelligence could lead to automated decision-making processes in nuclear command structures, which may increase the risk of accidental launches or miscalculations during crises. International cooperation and future prospects. To address these challenges, international cooperation is essential. Efforts such as the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW, adopted in 2017, aim to create a legal framework for the complete elimination of nuclear weapons. While the TPNW has garnered support from many non-nuclear weapon states, it has faced opposition from nuclear-armed states and their allies, who argue that it undermines the NPT framework. Nevertheless, the TPNW represents a growing movement towards disarmament and reflects the global desire for a world free of nuclear weapons. In conclusion, while significant progress has been made in disarmament and non-proliferation efforts, numerous challenges remain. The modernization of nuclear arsenals, the lack of ratification of key treaties like the CTBT, and the emergence of new technologies all pose threats to global security. Continued dialogue, cooperation, and commitment to disarmament are crucial for addressing these challenges and ensuring a safer world for future generations. The future of nuclear weapons. The future of nuclear weapons is uncertain, as geopolitical tensions continue to evolve. The resurgence of great power competition, particularly between the United States and China, raises concerns about a new arms race. The potential for nuclear conflict in volatile regions, such as South Asia and the Korean Peninsula, remains a pressing issue for global security. Great power competition and arms race. The dynamics of international relations have shifted dramatically in recent years, with the United States and China emerging as the two dominant powers on the global stage. This rivalry has led to an increased focus on military capabilities, including nuclear arsenals. Both nations are modernizing their nuclear forces, which includes the development of new delivery systems, such as hypersonic missiles and advanced submarines. This modernization not only aims to enhance deterrence but also to ensure that their nuclear capabilities remain relevant in the face of evolving threats. Furthermore, Russia's actions in Eastern Europe, particularly its annexation of Crimea and military involvement in Ukraine, have also contributed to the resurgence of nuclear rhetoric and posturing. The potential for a renewed arms race is exacerbated by the collapse of key arms control agreements, such as the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces, INF, Treaty, which has led to a more unpredictable security environment. As nations expand their arsenals and develop new technologies, the risk of miscalculation or accidental conflict increases, making the future of nuclear weapons a critical concern for policymakers worldwide. Nuclear conflict in volatile regions. The potential for nuclear conflict in regions such as South Asia and the Korean Peninsula remains a significant threat to global security. In South Asia, the long-standing rivalry between India and Pakistan, both of which possess nuclear weapons, creates a precarious balance of power. The two nations have engaged in multiple conflicts since their independence, and the presence of nuclear weapons has added a dangerous dimension to their disputes. The risk of a miscalculation during a conventional conflict could escalate into a nuclear exchange, with catastrophic consequences for the region and beyond. Similarly, the Korean Peninsula continues to be a flashpoint for nuclear tensions. North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons and ballistic missile technology has raised alarms internationally. Despite various diplomatic efforts, including summits between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and former U.S. President Donald Trump, the situation remains unresolved. The North's continued development of its nuclear arsenal poses a direct threat to South Korea, Japan, and even the United States, leading to a complex web of security dilemmas in the region. The potential for a nuclear confrontation in this area underscores the urgent need for diplomatic solutions and effective arms control measures. The threat of nuclear terrorism. In addition to state actors, the threat of nuclear terrorism poses a significant challenge for governments and international organizations. Non-state actors, such as terrorist organizations, may seek to acquire nuclear materials or weapons to further their agendas. The possibility of a dirty bomb or a nuclear device falling into the hands of such groups raises alarm bells globally. The catastrophic consequences of a nuclear terrorist attack could lead to mass casualties, widespread panic, and long-term geopolitical instability. Efforts to secure nuclear materials and prevent proliferation are critical in mitigating this risk. International initiatives, such as the Nuclear Security Summit process and the Global Initiative to Combat Nuclear Terrorism, aim to enhance cooperation among nations to secure nuclear stockpiles and improve detection capabilities. Additionally, the role of organizations like the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, is vital in monitoring nuclear facilities and ensuring compliance with non-proliferation treaties. Strengthening these frameworks and fostering international collaboration is essential to counter the evolving threat of nuclear terrorism. Conclusion: navigating a complex future. The future of nuclear weapons is fraught with challenges that require careful navigation by the international community. As great power competition intensifies and regional conflicts persist, the risk of nuclear escalation remains a pressing concern. Moreover, the specter of nuclear terrorism adds another layer of complexity to global security. To address these challenges, nations must prioritize diplomatic engagement, invest in arms control initiatives, and enhance cooperation to secure nuclear materials. Only through a concerted and collaborative effort can the world hope to mitigate the risks associated with nuclear weapons and work towards a more stable and secure future. Conclusion: nuclear weapons have fundamentally transformed the nature of warfare and international relations. Their existence raises profound ethical, strategic, and humanitarian questions that continue to shape global discourse. As the world grapples with the implications of nuclear weapons, the pursuit of disarmament and non-proliferation remains a critical imperative for ensuring a safer future. The lessons learned from the past must inform our approach to nuclear weapons, as humanity navigates the complexities of a world where the potential for mass destruction exists. The challenge lies in balancing national security interests with the moral responsibility to prevent the catastrophic consequences of nuclear war. The transformation of warfare. The introduction of nuclear weapons during World War II marked a pivotal shift in military strategy and the conduct of war. Unlike conventional weapons, which rely on kinetic energy and physical destruction, nuclear weapons unleash an unprecedented level of explosive power, capable of annihilating entire cities in a matter of seconds. This capability has led to a deterrent strategy known as mutually assured destruction, MAD, where the possession of nuclear arsenals by multiple states creates a precarious balance of power. The fear of total annihilation has, paradoxically, contributed to a prolonged period of relative peace among nuclear-armed states, as the catastrophic consequences of nuclear war serve as a powerful deterrent against direct conflict. However, this balance is fragile, and the potential for miscalculation or accidental launch remains a persistent threat. Ethical considerations. The ethical implications of nuclear weapons are profound and multifaceted. The sheer destructive capacity of these weapons raises questions about the morality of their use, even in the context of warfare. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki serve as stark reminders of the human cost of nuclear warfare, with hundreds of thousands of lives lost and countless others affected by radiation exposure and long-term health consequences. The ethical debate extends beyond their use in conflict to encompass the very existence of nuclear arsenals. Many argue that the mere possession of such weapons is inherently immoral, as it places the world at risk of catastrophic consequences. The challenge lies in reconciling the need for national security with the moral imperative to protect human life and dignity. Strategic implications. From a strategic perspective, nuclear weapons have reshaped international relations and diplomacy. The existence of nuclear arsenals has led to the establishment of various treaties and agreements aimed at controlling their proliferation and promoting disarmament. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, established in 1968, is a cornerstone of global efforts to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote peaceful uses of nuclear energy. However, the effectiveness of such treaties is often undermined by geopolitical tensions and the ambitions of states seeking to develop or acquire nuclear capabilities. The ongoing challenges posed by rogue states and non-state actors further complicate the landscape, as the potential for nuclear terrorism looms large. As nations navigate these strategic complexities, the importance of dialogue, diplomacy, and international cooperation cannot be overstated. Humanitarian impact. The humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons extend far beyond immediate destruction. The aftermath of a nuclear detonation would result in widespread devastation, with millions potentially facing death or severe injury. The long-term effects of radiation exposure would lead to increased cancer rates and other health issues for survivors, often referred to as hibakusha. Additionally, the environmental impact of nuclear explosions would be catastrophic, leading to long-lasting ecological damage and disruption of food and water supplies. The humanitarian perspective emphasizes the need for a comprehensive approach to nuclear disarmament that prioritizes the protection of human life and the environment. Advocacy groups and international organizations play a crucial role in raising awareness about these issues and pushing for policies that prioritize disarmament and the prevention of nuclear conflict. The path forward. As we look to the future, the path forward in addressing the challenges posed by nuclear weapons is fraught with complexity. The international community must remain vigilant in its efforts to promote disarmament and non-proliferation, recognizing that the stakes are higher than ever. The rise of new technologies, such as cyber warfare and artificial intelligence, introduces additional layers of risk that must be carefully managed. Engaging in multilateral dialogues and fostering trust among nations is essential to reducing tensions and preventing the escalation of conflicts that could lead to nuclear confrontation. Education and awareness-raising initiatives are also vital in cultivating a global culture that prioritizes peace and disarmament. Ultimately, the commitment to a world free of nuclear weapons requires collective action, moral courage, and a steadfast belief in the possibility of a safer, more secure future for all humanity.